Verdict. We, the jury, finds as follows as to the defendant in this case. The defendant is guilty of manslaughter, a lesser included offense.
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of murder in the second degree as charged in the information.
We, the jury, as to count 2, find the defendant guilty. And we, the jury, as to count 1, find the defendant guilty.
Next week, big week here on Court TV for sentencing 3 infamous defendants. Going to learn their fate after the Thanksgiving break. Monday, December 2nd, Sarah Boone will be back in a Florida courtroom after a jury found her guilty of second-degree murder in connection to the death of her boyfriend, George Torres. The following day, December 3rd, former ballerina Ashley Benefield faces up to 30 years after she was found guilty of the fatal shooting of her estranged husband back in 2020. Then, last but not least, Melody Farris. We watched this play out. She'll be December 5th. Will be sentenced. Farris was convicted, of course, of killing her husband and somehow getting his body onto that family property burn pile. What do we believe will be the fate of these 3 convicted killer moms? Here to discuss, former prosecutor Melba Pearson and domestic violence expert and former law enforcement officer Claudia King. Claudia, to you first. Let's start with Sarah. One of the bits of evidence here that worked against her defense was basically the video. We all remember the video of her torturing George, basically in the suitcase. In case we don't remember, here's a bit of it.
Sarah.
That's my name. Don't wear it up.
Sarah, I can't breathe, babe. Seriously.
Yeah, that's when you do and you choke me.
Sarah.
She was shocked by this verdict. She was a defendant that really believed in her innocence. The video speaks for itself. What do you think is going to happen here, Claudia, from the judge's perspective? And talk about the torture, really, that George Torres went through. I mean, the final moments of his life, like out of a horror movie.
Yeah, it's absolutely horrible. And to think about what George went through while she was mocking him and making fun of him is absolutely horrendous. So, I think this judge has been very, very fair throughout his dealing with Sarah Boone, and I think he's going to be fair in the sentencing, which I think should be life. She has showed no remorse. She has made a mockery of actual domestic violence victims. And let me say, yes, I do believe that she was a victim of domestic abuse. I also believe that George Torres was a victim of domestic abuse. And so I do not think that she suffered from any type of battered spouse or battered person syndrome. And that's where I think she's making the mockery. So I think she needs to spend the rest of her days in jail. Hopefully one day she will come to terms and admit what she did and show actual remorse. Unfortunately, I don't think that will happen, but I think that's where she needs to spend the rest of her time.
Ashley Benefield, a big moment in her case was when she took the stand and demonstrated the shooting of her husband. Here's a reminder of that moment.
So he lunged. Was his fist up when he lunged?
I don't remember.
So you start shooting, and he does what?
He kept coming at me.
Okay, so then you keep shooting again. And he falls down on his back?
His legs went up in the air.
Okay, where do his legs go?
In the air.
How high in the air?
I don't know.
Did they go over his head?
I don't know. It's like his feet slipped out.
Melba, it didn't sway the jury, obviously, and hey, taking the stand and trying to get yourself through a scenario like that's very difficult. Do you think it helps her, though, that she did take the stand in terms of the judge, or did that hurt her?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I think we'll know the final answer to that once we actually hear the final sentence, seeing that she's facing a maximum of 30 years. But, I think there is definitely the positive that she did get on the stand and testify because, again, she's claiming self-defense. She really didn't have any other choice. She had to get up and explain why she was so in fear for her life. But at the same token, on cross-examination, she didn't hold up and her story didn't make sense. And it was very light on details. So it clearly didn't help her with the jury. It helped her to the extent that they didn't come back with a verdict of second-degree murder, and they actually came back with a lower charge, manslaughter, but they still convicted her. So, I think she helped herself and hurt herself simultaneously by getting on the stand, but she didn't have any other choice because of the nature of her defense.
Melody Farris, her defense basically was, my boy did it. Scott was the true killer. And this was a case that a lot of us watched very intently. Do you think it's important for the judge to hear from her in this case, Claudia, before sentencing? The problem with, of course, an allocution is it can come back to haunt you on appeals, and a lot of defense attorneys say, don't take responsibility.
Absolutely. So I don't think she will take responsibility for that reason, but also I think she's still just going to stick to her story that her son did it. So I don't believe that we will hear from her really at all during her sentencing.
Melba, this one still has a lot of people scratching their heads in terms of the mechanics. How did she pull this off without leaving more evidence, no drag marks? How did you move that 300-pound husband's body? What's your take? Did the jury get this one right?
I think the jury got this one right from the standpoint of she was the only person that really could have done it. She had the motive, she was having an affair, there was financial issues, so all of the hallmarks were there, but I don't think she did it alone. And the question is, who was there to help her? And I don't think anyone has the answer to that. There may be some, speculation. Was it the boyfriend or something like that? But at the end of the day, there's no evidence to point to who helped her. But I do agree that it's physically impossible for her to have dragged him to the burn pile. But at the end of the day, she's the one who had access to the house, who had access to her husband, and had the motive to kill him. So I think the jury got it right. The question is always going to remain, who helped her?
Yeah, was it Rusty, the boyfriend? Who knows? I mean, something's weird about that case in terms of how she pulled it off. And we'll see what the judges all decide in terms of these sentencings. Melba Pearson, thank you so much for your time. Claudia's going to stick around. Enjoy the Thanksgiving holiday.